Okay, so hey guys, we're going to start a kind of something new. This is a Puritan minister. I can't remember if I hinted about him a little bit yesterday, but I want to say that this guy, Jonathan Edwards. This guy, Jonathan Edwards. He preaches this sermon called "Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God." I am not preaching you a sermon. This is not meant to be a sermon or try to win you to Christianity or anything like that. This here is really just looking at the figures of speech that he used to convince people of why they should turn from their sin. And so I want to keep that in mind. We're focusing on figures of speech. Now, why do we use figures of speech? Most of the time is to allow people to understand what we are talking about. In other words, if I looked at you and asked you this question, have you ever been to hell? Have you ever been to hell? You'll probably say, no, I have not been to hell. Well, I mean, we have a couple places here on earth that are called hell. There's Hell, Maine. There's Hell, Norway. Well, that's the only two I'm familiar with. But in Christianity and even other religions too, there's this place of hell, Hades or something. And we kind of have this familiarity about it being fire, brimstone, and just a place that we don't want to go. So Edwards, in all his wisdom, is gone to this church to deliver this sermon. And he knows that there's people sitting in this church that are just going to church, but they may not have convinced themselves of being saved by Christ or not totally bought into the idea. And he's there trying to scare them. See, a lot of times, what's one of the best persuasion techniques? It's fear. Fear is a very common, very emotional persuasion technique. But we study him in this Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God because of the metaphors that he uses. So metaphors is a way of comparing two unlike things. So I asked you if you ever been to hell. You have no idea what hell looks like. When you were 3 or 4 years old, did anybody ever tell you don't touch the eye of the stove because it's hot? And did you go and do it anyway? So if you did it anyway, you're probably pretty much like me and just kind of testing that. We know how hot the eye of a stove is, but we don't know what hell is like. So Jonathan Edwards' job was to convince people this is what not necessarily what hell is like, but what God's wrath is like if you continue the way you are living. So kind of like my wrath, if I have to see someone come into the room to evaluate me and they see text messaging and stuff other than what we're doing. So please make sure that you put that away. Because that means, give me my time and you'll have your time. So we'll go from there. In the assignment here, it says, see the instructional video link below. We're going to do a read aloud of the sermon. And actually, I'm going to read through it with the help of a CD because my voice is just about tanked out. But we're going to make a Jamboard. You're going to go to Jamboard and make a copy with your last name, or not make a copy. You're going to create a Jamboard and title it with your last name. So remember and I don't know if you've done this. I know I've linked you to Jamboards. So, but all you would have to do, I'm going to open up a new tab real quick. You'll go to your Drive, your Google Drive. And once you get to your Google Drive, I already have it up here, you can search for Jamboard. If you're actually in the drive itself, here over on the left, there's a way to do that too. And I think if you click on here, I'm already on Jamboard. I can't do it. So, but you're going to make a new or create a new Jamboard. And to do that, all you would have to do, all right, no, shoot. I'm not searching for one, I'm making one. I don't want my files. Well, this is embarrassing. Because I've made tons of these. Drive. I'll do it the way you would do it too. You'd go to your Drive. day, any day. And you'll come over here and look at, let's see, new. No, I have lost my spot. I have no clue now. That's embarrassing. Sorry, guys. I really do want to start a new one, but I don't see. Oh, you know what? It was an X down here. My thing is doing it. I remember now. All right. So that's just me being old. So I want to do a Jamboard. There it is, right here down at the bottom, and you can't see it because of me. There you go. Right here down at the bottom, you'll create a new one, and you'll call this. My computer's going slow. Your last name, and then you can do Centers, you can do Edwards or something like that. So, and just hit OK. I'm going to get out of it because I don't want to create a new one. And then come back to the assignment page. So make sure that you are, I'm going to share my screen with you. Make sure that you can see my screen because I'm going to show you what we're doing with this here. Sinners in the hands of an angry God. And but this is how we're going to read it today. And so I'm going to put the words up for you. So make sure that you're following the computer. And is it that important? I would probably put it in the bag at this point. So, all right. So I want your total attention. I prefer that we're sharing screens so that you can see this. So we're already 25 minutes behind. Okay. So log on to Zoom. Mute and mute. Okay, so I'm muted right now, and one of the things that I've asked for people at the beginning of class, I usually give people time and stuff on their own. When I have something going, please, I would prefer you not being on your devices. I am not the guy that's going to ask you for it, but if it continues to be a problem, I'm going to have to. I don't like doing that, but it's my job. Because I've been asked to by administrators. Okay, and I'm not trying to get on you, but I got to do my job. And at the beginning of class at 12:15, I asked everybody to join me on Zoom. Because I want you to follow along with what we're reading. Okay, so this is Jonathan Edwards. Hopefully you guys have this blown up on your screen just because we don't have documents. I will say this too, when you work out of this one, because it is on a Jamboard, you're able to do the exercises on the thing, but we're going to come back to those. But right now I just want to read through it. It is not incredibly long, but I'll just go ahead and start it with this. And guys, what I'm going to end up doing is, I don't know how I'm going to do it. It's going to just sound pretty bad just because I have to put the ears out here, and you guys at home still have to be mic'd up too to hear it. So it might be a little bit of an echo, and I apologize for that.
From Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God by Jonathan Edwards. So that thus it is that natural men are held in the hand of God over the pit of hell. They have deserved the fiery pit, and are already sentenced to it. And God is dreadfully provoked. His anger is as great toward them as to those that are actually suffering the executions of the fierceness of his wrath in hell. and they have done nothing in the least to appease or abate that anger. Neither is God in the least bound by any promise to hold them up one moment. The devil is waiting for them, hell is gaping for them. The flames gather and flash about them, and would fain lay hold on them and swallow them up. The fire pent up in their own hearts is struggling to break out, and they have no interest in any mediator. There are no means within reach that can be any security to them. In short, they have no refuge, nothing to take hold of. All that preserves them every moment is the mere arbitrary will and uncovenanted, unobliged forbearance of an incensed God. The use of this awful subject may be for awakening unconverted persons in this congregation. This that you have heard is the case of every one of you that are out of Christ. That world of misery, that lake of burning brimstone, is extended abroad under you. There is the dreadful pit of the glowing flames of the wrath of God. There is hell's wide gaping mouth open.
All right, I just have to do the...
And you have nothing to stand upon, nor anything to take hold of. There is nothing between you and hell but the air. It is only the power and mere pleasure of God that holds you up. You probably are not sensible of this. You find you are kept out of hell, but do not see the hand of God in it. But look at other things, as the good state of your bodily constitution, your care of your own life, and the means you use for your own preservation. But indeed these things are nothing. If God should withdraw his hand, they would avail no more to keep you from falling than the thin air to hold up a person that is suspended in it. Your wickedness makes you, as it were, heavy as lead, and to tend downward with great weight and pressure toward hell. And if God should let you go, you would immediately sink and swiftly descend and plunge into the bottomless gulf. And your healthy constitution, and your own care and prudence and best contrivance, and all your righteousness would have no more influence to uphold you and keep you out of hell than a spider's web would have to stop a fallen rock. The wrath of God is like great waters that are dammed for the present. They increase more and more, and rise higher and higher, till an outlet is given. And the longer the stream is stopped, the more rapid and mighty is its course when once it is let loose. It is true that judgment against your evil works has not been executed hitherto. The floods of God's vengeance have been withheld. But your guilt in the meantime is constantly increasing, and you are every day treasuring up more wrath. The waters are constantly rising and waxing more and more mighty, and there is nothing but the mere pleasure of God that holds the waters back, that are unwilling to be stopped and press hard.
All right, hang on. I will say that while I'm paused and while we're doing that, he's using a lot of metaphors. He's using a lot of things, visual things, where people can understand what's going on. And he's really talking about God holding people out of hell and giving them some very good illustrations on how he's doing it. You know, like the hands like dams holding back the waters of his wrath. So here we go.
To go forward. If God should only withdraw his hand from the floodgate, it would immediately fly open, and the fiery floods of the fierceness and wrath of God would rush forth with inconceivable fury, and would come upon you with omnipotent power. And if your strength were 10,000 times greater than it is, yea, 10,000 times greater than the strength of the stoutest, sturdiest devil in hell, it would be nothing to withstand or endure it. The bow of God's wrath is bent, and the arrow made ready on the string. And justice bends the arrow at your heart and strains the bow. And it is nothing but the mere pleasure of God, and that of an angry God without any promise or obligation at all, that keeps the arrow one moment from being made drunk with your blood. Thus, all you that never passed under a great change of heart by the mighty power of the Spirit of God upon your souls, all you that were never born again, and made new creatures, and raised from being dead in sin to a state of new and before altogether unexperienced light and life, are in the hands of an angry God. However you may have reformed your life in many things, and may have had religious affections, and may keep up a form of religion in your families and closets and in the house of God, it is nothing but his mere pleasure that keeps you from being this moment swallowed up in everlasting destruction. However unconvinced you may now be of the truth of what you hear, by and by you will be fully convinced of it. Those that are gone from being in the like circumstances with you see that it was so with them. For destruction came suddenly upon most of them, when they expected nothing of it, and while they were saying peace and safety. Now they see that those things on which they depended for peace and safety were nothing but thin air and empty shadows.
You would think that he's just talking about doom and doom for everyone, and this scared a lot of the people during that time. Remember, we're talking about people just after the Puritans that we were studying. So this is 1700s, not 1600s. It's probably I don't remember the date, 1740, something around there. So, he was born, I can tell you, in 1703. So and he died in 58. So anyway, let's continue to the last part.
The God that holds you over the pit of hell, much as one holds a spider or some loathsome insect over the fire, abhors you and is dreadfully provoked. His wrath toward you burns like fire. He looks upon you as worthy of nothing else but to be cast into the fire. He is of purer eyes than to bear to have you in his sight. You are 10,000 times more abominable in his eyes than the most hateful, venomous serpent is in ours. You have offended him infinitely more than ever a stubborn rebel did his prince, and yet it is nothing but his hand that holds you from falling into the fire every moment. It is to be ascribed to nothing else that you did not go to hell the last night, that you was suffered to awake again in this world after you closed your eyes to sleep. And there is no other reason to be given why you have not dropped into hell since you arose in the morning, but that God's hand has held you up. There is no other reason to be given why you have not gone to hell since you have sat here in the house of God, provoking his pure eyes by your sinful, wicked manner of attending his solemn worship. Yea, there is nothing else that is to be given as a reason why you do not this very moment drop down into hell. O sinner, consider the fearful danger you are in. It is a great furnace of wrath, a wide and bottomless pit full of the fire of wrath, that you are held over in the hand of that God whose wrath is provoked and incensed as much against you as against many of the damned in hell. You hang by a slender thread, with the flames of divine wrath flashing about it and ready every moment to singe it and burn it asunder. And you have no interest in any mediator, and nothing to lay hold of to save yourself, nothing to keep off the flames of wrath, nothing of your own, nothing that you have ever done, nothing that you can do to induce God to spare you one moment.
All right, so that's our version, and it's kind of, that's the version that we're given. It's longer than that. He went longer during his day, and so I'm going to stop it right there, and we're going to come back with the instructional video in just a moment.